Hello everyone and welcome to Bizarre Movies. Today we will recap a suspense thriller movie, in which a prisoner tries to escape from a deadly US prison. But before we start, a gentle reminder, that this is just a movie explanation and we encourage you to watch the full movie. Spoilers ahead, watch out and enjoy. The movie starts with Alcatraz prison on an island in the US. Here we see a new prisoner named Frank. Considering Frank's previous records of escaping prisons, he has been sent to Alcatraz, a prison from where nobody has ever escaped. At the gates, Frank is thoroughly checked after being brought here, but they find nothing harmful. After this, he is locked in a cell at Alcatraz. The next morning, the warden of the prison calls him. He mockingly tells him that when a person commits a crime in the society, he is sent to jail, and when someone breaks the rules of the jail, he is sent to Alcatraz. No one has ever escaped from Alcatraz, and now the four walls of this prison are your life. He also tells him that here we do not make good human beings but make good prisoners. Actually, the warden has called him, so that Frank can give him the names of those people who will come to meet him in jail. But Frank doesn't write down any names as he does not have anyone in his family. But before leaving, he steals a nail cutter from the warden's office. The next day, when Frank is taking a shower with all the other prisoners, a prisoner comes near to him. He is a rapist whose name is Bruce, but everyone calls him Wolf. He comes to Frank and says that he is looking for a guy who can be his next chick, and he has eyes on Frank. Frank does not tolerate his rudeness and beats him very badly. In the evening, Frank goes to the library, because he is assigned the duty of giving books to all the prisoners. The main guy for this duty is English. He welcomes Frank and asks Frank to assist him. The next day, when they are taking some fresh air, Frank meets English. Frank asks him about the safety of Alcatraz. English tells him that till date no one has escaped from this prison. Look at those guards over there. Usually one guard watches 7 prisoners, but in Alcatraz, one guard only keeps watch over 3 prisoners. Also, getting out of this island is not only difficult but impossible. Look at that sea, you have to swim a mile, then you will be able to get out of this place. But the waves are so strong, that they can make a distance of 1 mile like many miles, and the water is so cold that your hands will freeze. The next day, when Frank is out with all the other prisoners, Wolf comes there. He moves towards him with a knife, but a fellow inmate Doc signals him. Frank overpowers him and the guards arrive there on time. The guards put both of them in Block D, which is a dark cell with no light at all. Warden orders the guard to torture Frank and Wolf for their behavior. Frank is released after a few days, but Wolf is still kept in Block D. Next day, Frank meets Doc. He is doing his next painting and he loves flowers. He tells Frank that he earned this special reward after good behavior, and the warden offers rewards to most prisoners. One day, while doing his usual routine check, warden drops his keys in the Doc cell. He goes inside and checks his paintings. He also discovers a painting of him, and this makes him very angry. He orders his guards to take all paintings from Doc, and from today he will never do any painting. Doc gets upset after this. He asks for the reason, but the guard doesn't tell him anything. It is most difficult to spend time in this jail. Hours seem like months and years here. One day, while in a workshop, Doc asks the guard for special tools for his work. Suddenly, he cuts his fingers in front of the guard, and everyone gets shocked after this. That same night when Frank is in his cell, he sees a cockroach near a vent. When he looks carefully, he sees that the wall around the vent is very weak because of the moisture of the drainage. He starts scratching the cement around the vent, and it starts to come out easily. Later in the night, he meets a new prisoner next to his cell. His name is Charles, and he is there for only car theft. Next day, Frank meets 2 new inmates. Their names are John and Clarence, and they are friends of Frank. Frank tells them and Charles that I've found a way to escape. He says that the wall that surrounds the vent has become weak, and we can use it to our advantage. Frank is thinking that since the wall is weak because of moisture, it is also possible that the roof ventilation is rusted as well. If we can reach there we can break it easily. He tells them that we can get out by making a hole, and then leave the prison through the vent. They doubt his idea because a big hole can be seen by guards easily. Frank says that we can paint it with the help of cardboard and pages of magazines, and give it the exact shape of the wall, and we will put it there so that no one can see that hole. Frank says that we will also make our dummy heads, so that the guard will think that we are sleeping. He tells John to arrange hair from the prison salon, so they can make perfect dummies. Now for the next several months, all 4 of them make holes in the wall of their cell. Frank and Charlie are in an adjacent cell, while John and his brother Clarence are both in an adjacent cell. While one man works on his wall, the other keeps an eye on the guards. With the help of a prisoner, Frank arranges something to heat the nail cutter and sharpen its edges. He also manages to steal a spoon with the help of his group. So now they have the spoon to speed up their digging process. They slowly make a hole near the vent, and manage to get rid of soil and debris. Slowly he drills a hole deep enough in the wall, but the mesh is still there. One day, Frank is working in the workshop, and he sees a piece of metal. His friend says that the machine will detect it, you can't take it out of here. When Frank is exiting the workshop, the machine alarms. The guard asks him, what do you have? Frank shows the same piece in his hand. He says, I made it to hang my clothes. But the guard takes it away from him, but Frank has played a trick here. He kept 2 such pieces with him. In this way, Frank manages to take the metal with him. In the night, he removes the mesh, and creates a fake mesh out of paper and cardboard. Meanwhile, Charles had applied for painting and colors, and the warden approves it. He passes some colors to Frank so that he can paint the mesh and dummy. Now he makes a dummy head like his own, so they can put it on their bed, and the guards think that they are sleeping. Frank finishes his work and goes out of his cell for the first time. He slowly reaches the top with the help of drainage pipes. After reaching the top, he sees one metal vent there with rusted iron rods. He tries to reach further but fails. The next day, during lunch, he tells his friends that he went there last night. But he needs more men to start the next stage. 2 brothers inform him that they have almost finished their work and they will help him. Frank says that John and I will go upstairs tonight. They are also planning to steal some raincoats to make a makeshift boat and life jackets. Later in the night, Frank and John reach the top. But Frank realizes that iron rods are heavy and they will need a drill machine. The next day, during the music session, he decides to steal the table fan. After the session, he hides the fan in his box and returns to his cell. He also manages to steal an extension box with the help of his friend named L. In the night, he removes the bars and some screws. Just then they create an unnecessary noise, catching the guards' attention. But before he sees them, they go back to their cell. The next day, when they all are having dinner, the warden notices them. He comes near them and notices a flower there. He takes the flower in anger, and tells them to not show such emotion for Doc. L gets angry and wants to hit the warden, but before he can do anything, he suffers a heart attack and collapses. He dies there and they all become upset again. On the other hand, after working for many months, Frank asks about the raincoats. They inform him that it will be ready by Tuesday. Frank says, then we will leave on Tuesday. One night, suspicious warden comes into Frank's cell, and his guard performs a thorough check of his cell and his bed. But they don't get anything there. Then warden asks the guard, have you seen Frank doing some strange things? He says, sometimes he talks to Charlie till night. Warden orders him to shift Charlie to some other place. Guard requests some time for paperwork and preparation of a new cell. Warden tells him to complete all work by Wednesday. The next morning, Wolf comes out from the dungeon, and he tries to attack Frank again. He takes a knife from his friend and prepares to attack Frank. But before he can reach him, Frank's friend English catches him and stops him. Actually, English has been here for a long time, and there are many other people with him in this jail. English knows that Frank wants to break the jail, and he also wants to help him. When night falls, it's finally time for the gang to leave. Frank and the brothers successfully trick the guard with their dummies and enter the corridor. On the other hand, Charlie is very nervous, and he cannot gather enough courage to escape the cell. Frank tries to call him, but then all 3 decide to escape from the prison without Charlie. They slowly go up, until the trio reaches the roof through the ventilation shaft. All 3 come out from the vent one by one, and proceed as per plan. They manage to cross the roof, and find a pipeline against the side wall. Meanwhile, Charlie has changed his mind and entered the hole as well. But he is not able to go beyond the iron vent. They go down one by one and reach the fences. After this hurdle, they reach the sea and start pumping air in the makeshift boat. Then they use their legs as their propelling force to swim away into freedom. The next morning, it is shown that when the guard comes on rounds, he tells Frank to get up. The guards find out they're gone. After this, the warden initiates a massive search operation, and they search a nearby island for their clue. They discover some of their stuff here, leading the warden to suspect they drowned, because they would never leave these items behind. Then he finds the same flower. Then a man comes there and tells the warden that the director has called him in Washington. He also tells him that last night there was less fog, and the waves were also light, which means they might be able to escape the prison. But the warden, who is in denial, says no, they drowned and died. But somewhere deep in his heart, he knows that Frank left the flower there as a message. FBI and government arranged multiple searches over the year, but they never found any evidence of the success or failure of the escape attempt. The bodies of the fugitives are never discovered. The movie ends with Alcatraz closing down a year after the escape. To know the movie's name, check the pinned comment right now. If you like the story, then do watch the full film, and if you want to watch more such amazing recaps, then do subscribe to our channel and enable bell notifications to receive the latest regular updates. See you in the next recap.